Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friends in Recovery podcast with Jersey Ed. I'm your host, Jersey Ed, along with my two co-hosts, Buckeye Bambi and Super Beth. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever it is, ladies. How are you?
Good. Doing good today.
Doing good today. And what does that mean, Bambi? Why are you doing good? What does that mean?
Oh, I don't know. It's just this time of year, the brand new year, brand new, it gives you like a new energy.
Yes.
For the new year,
Absolutely.
You got all these plans, you can make, it's just good.
Okay, I'm just putting you on the spot. That's all, because I don't know what the fuck we're going to talk about on the show today. So I'm trying to fill some time in. Don't laugh, Beth. You're next.
Oh, our viewers are used to that.
I know. How are you, Beth?
I have the never-ending cough. So if I mute myself repeatedly, or if I don't, tell me to. I'm just saying.
Well, I want to see you coughing all over the place.
Oh, it's really bad. Yeah.
And our guest today, Mike Wilson, and we'll talk a little bit more of that about him. But how are you, Mike? Are you doing good?
I am well.
All right.
And I differentiate between the good and the well. Like, I'm good. When people ask me that question, you good, or how you doing? I'm good. I feel like I'm pushing them off a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, instead of like, when they ask me, I like to hold them accountable for asking me the question in the first place. So like, if they're like, how you doing? And I'm not doing well. I'm like, I'm not doing well today. Like, just stay around a little bit.
Start coughing or bend over or something. Yeah,
you asked. Let me tell you about my bad day.
It's been really bad today. So, well, I didn't ask. I'm just doing things for the podcast because we really can't close it 3 minutes in. So I'm just kind of, we could, but then, we might get a lot of viewers. So anyways, all right, guys, that's enough of that. But, podcast hotline. Speaking of podcasts, Mike, we still have that podcast hotline. It's 800-989-6504. If anybody's interested in getting in contact with us, Mike called me on that podcast hotline, and that's how no, I'm just kidding. Help at friendsinrecoverypodcast.com is a way to send an email. And visit our website, friendsinrecoverycommunity.org. And guys, we have new emails, right? Bambi is Buckeye Bambi 22@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of her personally. Superbeth22@gmail.com. And me, what do you think? What do you think my email is, Mike?
Not Super Ed.
Is it jerseyed22@gmail.com?
Wrong.
You had to be
I felt the theme. I thought we were going like everyone has
right?
22.
No,
it has to be different.
I had to be different.
Jersey at 69.
Yes, that's it. No, no, it's actually Jersey Ed 2018 is when the show started. So that's when it's boring. I should have did it.
Got to be different.
I know. So make sure you get a hold of us on some of those emails. And Mike, if you want to get a hold of me, that's how you can get a hold of me. Just email me at
that's what Jersey I'll use from now on.
All right, there you go. I like
Jersey
to thank
2018.
You probably
Jersey
never
Ed
checked
2018. Yeah, I check it all the time, but there's nothing in it. Somebody sent me an email. Like, my cousin Jordan was supposed to send me an email, like, how long ago, right?
A long time.
And here's an email address. She can send it to me, and she has not sent it to me yet. So anyways, Jordan, if you're listening,
I feel like if there's anyone listening to this episode that has any compassion for Ed, you should just send Ed an email at jerseyed2018@gmail.com, because it's nice to get emails.
It is. No, well, not too many, but all hate mail. Joe says all hate mail to Ed.
Just give Ed some blue hearts.
Give me some blue hearts, guys. Yeah.
But give me orange. But give me all the orange hearts. Somebody give me some orange hearts, man.
Let's see some orange hearts.
The purple hearts.
Yeah.
Maybe just make me feel bad about myself.
I know.
kidding.
Bambi won
No, I know.
again
I'm
last
just
week.
kidding.
Mike, we're doing like hearts. We all have a certain color heart. So we're doing a competition, and you just have to comment below with either purple hearts for Bambi, orange hearts for Beth, or blue hearts for me. And Bambi, I don't know, there must have been 10, 15 comments on there with just all blue purple hearts. I mean, all over the place.
Wow.
She won
My
again.
fan.
Yeah, she
She's
won
always
again.
winning.
I know.
Mike, what I do is every one of my family and friends in the world, I threaten them. Listen, you need to give me purple hearts.
That's right. That's right.
I must be intimidating.
So please, guys, get those comments in below. Make sure you get your hearts, Bambi purple, Beth orange, Ed blue. Get them in there in the comments. Really important. We're going to do a weekly contest and see who wins. And then whoever wins gets to go to a fan's house for the weekend. No, I'm just kidding.
No hearts, please. No hearts.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I changed my name.
Anyway, so that's our little heart thing. So I'd like to thank all of our donors who made this show possible. To make a donation, you can Venmo us at Friends in Recovery Enterprises under business, and Carl put it up on the screen here, or Cash App Friends in Recovery, $ at Friends in Recovery, or mail a check to Friends in Recovery Enterprises, P.O. Box 1551, Johns Island, South Carolina 29457. And guys, that's the way we keep the show going, is by donations. And we appreciate every donation that comes in. If it's $1, if whatever it is, we really appreciate it all. And Friends in Recovery is part of the FIRE network. Go to friendsinrecoverycommunity.org for more information if you want to get your podcast on our website. This week's show topic, this week's guest is Mike Wilson, a person in long-term recovery, owner of Baystate Recovery, and of course my long-time friend, Mike Wilson. We'll get into that interview here in a minute. He has a lot of good things going on, and talk about some of the stuff in the past and all that good stuff. So stay tuned for some amazing recovery. Shout outs. Beth, do you have a shout out today?
I have very, very special shout out. So everybody,
we need fireworks here, Carl.
We need some fireworks here.
Yeah. All right.
Bambi is celebrating 1 year sober.
Bambi, congratulations. 1 year sober.
Thank you, Beth. And Carl, I better get some fireworks because it's been a big one.
More fireworks. And
keep going to fireworks. Noises. Just keep going. Pause right here and put a big load of fireworks right here.
Yeah.
All right, good. Thanks. Anyways, and don't forget to join us. We have twice daily AA meetings on Zoom. You can find them at our website, friendsinrecoverycommunity.org, or aa-intergroup.org. That's where that information lives for now. Look for us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Friends in Recovery Communities, and adventures and more. We are doing an adventure real quick, guys. I want to just kind of let everybody know about that. In February, we're going to Stokes Forest, New Jersey, and we're going to do a camping trip, a winter camping trip. We just got donated 2 cold plunge tubs and a sauna, and a portable sauna from Cindy C. Cindy C donated 2 cold plunge tubs for the camping trip and a sauna.
Wow.
So we're going to be doing some cold plunging. We don't have to go in the lake this year. As you guys know, we talked about, we went to the lake last year and we had to like dodge the rangers and, break the ice and all that stuff. So this year it's going to happen right at the campsite with 2 cold plunges, 2 people at a time. And then we'll have pictures on the website and all that. And then, or on Facebook. And then we're going to have a sweat lodge, basically. So if you're interested in doing any of that, which I'm sure nobody is, to camping in the wintertime in the middle of the woods, I doubt. I mean, there's the 9 of us that are like crazy that are going, I guess, at this point. So
wow.
Well, I want to go, but I don't want to do any cold plunging. So I'll be a spectator for that.
That's right. That's right. So, that's some of the adventures going on. Oh, the other adventure for a donation, for a $25 donation, if you don't like the cold, right? I'm guessing most everybody on here doesn't like the cold. You can donate $25, get a special Zoom ID and passcode, and join us on a fireside meeting on February 11th, okay, at 8:15 Eastern time. And it supports us. It's a 12-step kind of meeting, and you get to see all of us around the fire, probably after our cold plunges, or maybe we can do a cold plunge while the meeting's going on. We'll put it in the back. I don't know. We'll figure all that out. So, but email us if you want more information, and if you want to make a donation. If you do make a donation to one of our donation sites, make sure you put it in there as fireside meeting or campfire meeting, so we can send you the passcode. Just don't donate the $25. We need to know that we need to send you that link out. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Give us a 5-star review, and don't forget to the stars, guys. The stars. I'm not going to tell. I mean the hearts. I'm not going to tell you who the hearts are, but figure it out or rewind the show, whatever. So, anyways. All right, guys. We're almost done. We're going to be interviewing Mike in a second. Mike's probably like, "This is weird. Why? What are they talking about?" See, we'll interview on that. See how the beginning of this show went. So, so we do a question of the week, and it's Mike, just to get our audience to know who we are. So here it is.
Question of the week.
Question of the week.
Question of the week.
All right. So the question of the week: where do you go when you need inspiration? Where do you go when you need inspiration? Let us know here on Facebook. We'll read it out. Send us an email. Put it in the comments. But where do you go when you need inspiration? Since Mike is our guest, if he didn't think about it, we can let him go last or next or whatever. But where do you go for inspiration, Mike?
So I go to the only place that makes it that makes me feel quiet in my head, which is to the gym. So when I need inspiration, when I need to dumb down the noise or dampen the noise in my life, and actually kind of free myself up to have inspiration or think or anything like that, I go work out.
Love it.
And while I'm working out, everything gets real quiet. I'm not thinking about anything other than the weights. And so, I feel good. I feel inspired. I can be creative. That's where I go. And then just to piggyback on that, I can also sit on my couch and scroll on TikTok for an hour or two and get a similar result.
Mindless.
Mindless. And when it comes to inspiration in my recovery, I like to go to somebody that's new and struggling. Like if I'm looking for inspiration to remind me why I do what I do and why I'm trying so hard, and instead of forgetting where I came from, I try to sit with a new person struggling, which my job affords me the opportunity to do repeatedly, and I gain inspiration from them as well.
Absolutely. Good. And the gym is I'm sure a lot of people get inspiration. Cindy C says, I go ride my horse. She does go ride her horse a lot. And that's a quiet place. I'm sure it's very peaceful and quiet, and, just kind of hearing the horse kind of running and all that, and just kind of collecting your thoughts. But Cindy said riding her horse. She's on Facebook. Let's see, Beth. Where do you go to get inspiration?
So I love the way Mike put it, which is like, what do I do to get quiet, right? To let the inspiration come in. And that's exactly what I do. I just get quiet.
Okay.
Or I surround myself physically with women, and whenever possible, surround myself with the women that I travel this path with. Just being with them and exchanging energy with them gives me inspiration. It gives me like, when I think inspiration, I think drawing in, right? We spend so much time in this program going out, right? Being of service, taking action, being an example, that we can get on empty. So in order for me to pull inspiration, I do it in the morning in my 11-step morning meditation. I surround myself with women, and sometimes I just get quiet. Like right now, I quilt, right? That's my art. And
Mhm.
I am totally jammed up. I'm just coming out of winter hibernation. I'm just coming out of holidays. I'm on E.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And so for me, like I've just been doing a lot of getting quiet and just being, right? So I go over to Anne Marie's. I went over to Anne Marie's like 2 days ago and just sat there for a couple
Mm.
minutes, got up and left, and was able to carry through my day. And never ever. Listen, if I could spend the rest of my life alone here in my basement with my sewing, I would do it. But never underestimate the physicality of energy exchange with people that are
Mhm.
walking this path like us. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I used to surround myself with women too, but for different reasons. You know, I gonna have to say something about that. I'm like,
coming, man. I'm sick.
when is she gonna shut up so I can say something about that? No, that was good, Beth. Quiet and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, being women, and of course that kind of puts us into that tone. I get it, and that mindset, and just makes life much, much better. I get it, absolutely. Bambi, the 1 year, where do you go for inspiration? What do you do for inspiration?
Well, initially I wanted to say, I've always typically went to a cemetery. I like cemeteries because I like looking at the really old gravestones. I like doing epitaphs on the ones you can't read, and you put a paper over it and charcoal it, and then you get to see what's, not there. However, in my drinking days, that's where I got both my DUIs, was leaving a cemetery. So I've not been going there lately. So I would say I typically either go to a meeting. I get a lot of inspirations when I go on an AA meeting, or I take a bubble bath, the whole 9 yards, tons of bubbles, candles, really turn the lights down and just soak in a hot tub. So no cemeteries anymore for me.
Well, there is something quiet and peaceful about cemeteries. The Podfather, right, Mike? He used to go, remember all the stories he would tell going to the cemetery while he was a cop, and he still goes to the cemetery every morning. He was just on the show last week. And he's he was definitely a cemetery kind of guy. So bubble bath and AA meetings, we got gym, we got, going inside, quiet, surrounding yourself with women, like-minded women. And me, guys, when I need to go get inspired or just to kind of take a break from life or whatever, I go running. You guys know I'm a big runner, and I get super, super creative for some reason. I don't know why. When I'm running, I'm always not voicemailing. I'm always memoing myself or recording myself. Yeah, this is an idea. That's an idea. I got inspired by this, or, I just hang on to it and hope after my 10-mile run, I can remember what it was. So my inspiration comes from that. And I also relax when I run. And sometimes I just have to get out of my head. I can't stay in this too long. And that's when I go run. It's mindless. Running is mindless. You pick a distance and you go. That's all you need to do. There's no lifting weights, how much you're putting on. Nothing wrong with the gym, Mike, but I don't have to count how many jump ropes I do. The watch, matter of fact, when I put the fucking watch on, it tells me how far I go. 1 mile, 2 miles, 3. I don't have to think about how far I go. So literally running is mindless activity for me to get inspired. So nature is another one, but and just kind of meditating. I guess running is all that. Nature, running, meditation. I do it all. So good question of the week, guys. Mind
if I add to that real quick?
Sure, add to it, absolutely.
So because I know the word quiet kept coming up, and I just want to comment, like for me, the gym is actually, it's in my basement. There's loud trap music going on, and I'm banging weights around, and I'm thinking about my workout, but I'm also creating enough chaos outside of me with the things that are happening that the inside can get quiet. And clearly I'm trying to get the inside quiet, not the outside. Like when it's quiet on the outside, it's chaos on the inside. And so I have to create some of that external stuff, like being around other people's stuff, like, hearing other people's stories. I have to give that place. And so if it's too quiet for me, I don't know about you guys, but if it's too quiet on the outside for me, I start to freak out.
So that's so interesting that you said that, because my son just said that to me. He's 16 years old. And I'm the opposite of you. I need outside quiet so that I can hear the inside and shut it down, right? Give it to God. He's like you, like he needs like all of this going on out here. And I'm just like, you do you, buddy, because I don't even know what that means. So I'm glad that there's somebody else in the world that is like that.
There you go.
I mean, part of that is based on the life I led, which I'm 46 years old now. So, I mean, for most of my life, it was chaos. And that's where I learned to live. You know, now I try to live a normal life like everybody else. And they're like, oh, let's get quiet and let's do this. I'm like, ugh, that makes me really uncomfortable. I actually thrive in chaos. If you don't mind, you guys like turn the sirens on and start screaming for me, and I'll be able to relax.
Put me in handcuffs and I'll figure it all out. Mike lifts weights and handcuffs. Yeah. Oh my God. You can't sleep without handcuffs on, right?
And a fan.
And a fan. Yeah, exactly. So Mike Wilson, Baystate Recovery, is our guest today. He's kind of revealing himself a little bit here, so I figured we just go right into the interview with him. Mike's been, like I said, been a longtime friend of mine. You know, we've been, we've known each other. It has to be 15 years, if not longer. You know, we just been kind of helping people and doing podcasts and hanging out, smoking cigars, bullshitting, helping each other out. I mean, Mike's one of my go-to people that I have to, you know, that I need to talk to about things when there's major decisions I have to do. He helped me through a few of them in the last couple of months. You know, and I appreciate it. You know, it's not always, you know, happiness and all that stuff. You know, a couple of years ago, we had a little falling out, but that's okay. You know, but we seem to come back here stronger and more a deeper friendship. So Mike, I really appreciate that. I really do. And I appreciate your friendship. It means a lot to me. It really does.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And couldn't ask for a better introduction than just being called a friend. You know, I think, seriously, I mean, everything else aside, yes, I'm a person in recovery. Yes, I work in the field, but you know, the people I meet, I have a choice. You know, they're either professional acquaintances or they become friends. You know, and I think, to be honest with you, as a person in recovery, that's one of the things I actually learned how to do, which helps keep me in recovery, which is that I learned how to be a friend. Like I learned how to have time for people. I learned how to be willing to let people have time for me. Like I'm worth it. You know, I'm worth a phone call to somebody to just vent. I don't have to keep it all inside, you know, and that when I'm listening to somebody else, I'm actually listening. There's just so many things that I gained in recovery. And one of them is the ability to make friendships. So just, I appreciate that. And, you know, I'll credit my recovery for my ability to even be.
And likewise, I'm sure we all can attest to that, right? Right, ladies? I mean, I didn't have friends, you know, I wouldn't have a friend like Mike unless I wanted something from him. Now I just want to, you know, say hello once in a while or run something by him or, you know, if he calls me, it's not like I don't have time for this guy. You know, does he have a bag of cocaine or is he going to bring the booze over to ladies? No, I'll pick it up and we'll just bullshit and we'll talk. You know, that's what life is about now because, like you said, Mike, because of recovery. Right. You were talking about helping people and, you know, helping people. You're in the business. You want to tell us a little bit about your business and what you do, and you know, kind of how you got up to doing what you do today?
Yeah. So I started a company back in 2009, which was called Renewed Hope Project, and it was a nonprofit organization. It was an idea that was just kind of born out of my desire to help families. So my own family, as a person in recovery, my own family did not have a lot of resources. You know, I mean, they had access to things like Al-Anon and, you know, they could have seen a therapist, but, you know, there was nobody working with them directly. You know, it was a lot of passive information, that self-help that they had to pick up on and chase. And whereas I had services directly supplied to me, I could go to a detox, I could go to a treatment center, I could get a sponsor. I had all these things where somebody could work with me individually and help me get well. I realized my family didn't have like a person, you know, or people, so to speak, you know, and So when that organization was created, I was the founder, executive director, and sole employee because that's how they are when they're born. You know what I mean? My family was the board of directors. I had like a couple friends that were board of directors. It was just this hodgepodge group of people, trying to come up with a way to help. And so in 2009, I just went out to a few treatment programs and I said, hey, those phone calls you get from family members, right? Because I mean, we all know our parents and families used to call treatment programs for us, even though we didn't want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to the programs and I said, hey, when mom calls and says my son needs to go to treatment, and then your response is, well, is he willing to get on the phone? And they say, no, he doesn't even know I'm calling. And then your response is usually, well, let us know when he can get on the phone. Instead of saying that, I want you to give them my phone. Not going to cost anything. I'll just meet with them. I'll talk to them. And so for all of 2009, we had like almost 200 families come to us directly from treatment centers showing that they didn't know how to navigate those phone calls. And so they were sending them over to us, and I was just meeting them where they were at, talking to them about their situation, trying to understand what they needed to accomplish the next step, whatever it would be, and started creating services based around exactly that need that was coming through the door. So, taking all that information in, creating the services around how we could help them and help their loved one get to treatment. So that's where, our intervention model was born. That's where a lot of like the family coaching and case management and stuff like that was born, to try to help families overcome that, have a person. Mm-hmm. And we did that for, I did that for years. And then one of the very first people that I helped get into treatment, my friend John, he came back and in recovery, he joined the team. We changed the company name to Baystate Recovery Services. Mm-hmm. And then since then, we've been just building on that same idea, that same model. And then 2016, we opened a men's sober living called Barry's House in Beverly. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, we actually got licensed and opened up our day treatment intensive outpatient program in Beverly called Baystate Recovery Center. And so now we're able to help not just the families that are coming through, but we can also place their loved ones, partnered with good programs to try to help them get to treatment first, and then they can do their follow-up or aftercare with us, or vice versa. Take people who've been in treatment and, if they want to relocate to this area, or if they're looking for something, that we can take them in this area in Massachusetts.
So you took a problem that you've seen with families, starting with families, and then turned it into helping the family, the addict, alcoholic, everybody. You just kind of rolled it into, let's do all this, because you're right. There's people out there that just do the treatment, and people out there that just do the family stuff. Not a lot of people incorporate. They say they do, and I've known Mike for a long time, and I know he incorporates both of those worlds together. Both of them. And we work hand in hand on some cases too, where he still goes on, still tries to, schedules appointments with families, even after the intervention's done, or even after they're out of treatment. He still stays in touch with the families. Mike, I want to, and ladies, any questions you have, just feel free to jump in here. Interventions. You were talking about intervention. Now, we all know what an intervention is here. Some people watching may or may not know, because I can't tell you how many times I got a call. I don't know how to help my son. Well, would you ever think about a loved one? Did you ever think about an intervention? Well, what's an intervention, right? I mean, how many times did you get those calls? Like, what's an intervention? Beth, you probably get those calls too. You want to give, besides the stuff that you see on TV, on the intervention show, but you want to give us kind of an insight of what an intervention is, and how you might run an intervention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, an intervention is anytime, based on the dictionary, an intervention is just anytime you get between one person and, a bad habit or behavior, right? And by that, I mean, I could come to you and say, Ed, I think you're running too much. It's taking a toll on your health. I think you should stop. That was an intervention. You know what I mean? The actual intervention is a simple conversation with a person about their behavior or action and their need to change it, and an offer for help. That's it. That's an intervention. The format around it is what's unique, right? So a lot of families, when they call for an intervention, they just want that thing I just told you. They're calling because they want me or you or somebody to come to their house and say that to their kid or family member or husband or father, or whatever, or mother. and they want us to come and have that conversation with them. And a real intervention is about creating the environment for that and adjusting the family system so that they can be part of the conversation, but more so if that person says no or yes, the family knows how to play a role in the result. Right. So the example I give is, let's say that you had a room and there was a mold in that room. It was a dark, warm, damp place, right? So the environment is a place where mold would grow. And they call you and they say, I want you to come and get rid of this mold. What would you do? As a person trying to get rid of the mold, what would you do?
Pay him to come get rid of it.
Right. But what would you expect them to do? Just get rid of the mold?
Get rid of the mold. Yeah. Get it out of here.
Okay. But you're going to keep the dark, damp room in the basement.
Change the environment.
So it grows again. It would just grow again.
Come back again. So families are doing exactly that. Families are calling and saying, hey, we need to address this thing we just found. Not mold. I'm not going to compare their loved ones to mold, but I'm just, the analogy,
it's accurate.
the metaphors.
It's accurate.
They're not fixing the environment.
Yeah, pretty moldy.
And so they're saying, I just want you to come and get them into treatment. And I'm like, I get that. And I would like to help with that. However, I also don't want to leave that room as a contractor and, having not changed the environment, give you any idea that, or any hope that the mold will not come back. So as an interventionist, our job is to slow the family down a little bit, take enough time to actually address the issue, because yes, there's a good chance we can get your loved one into treatment, but then what? We get them into treatment, the family doesn't change, nothing changes, and you still get that dark, damp room in the basement, that warm, dark, damp room, that environment that is conducive to mold. So if I'm going to get involved as a contractor, since my name is on the contract, you're going to talk about the work I did. I like to come in and say, let's actually take care of this. Let's address the issues. And sometimes those issues are things that families don't necessarily want to face. Like old family dynamics of denial and blame and guilt and shame that people aren't quite ready to address just because their loved one is struggling with addiction. So there's a format to it. And there's there's a need for a professional that can navigate that family system and that dynamic without causing more harm than good, without completely dividing the family and turning them against each other. But also someone that can sit in a room with that person and talk to them honestly about what their future holds. Like, we obviously all want the same thing. You clearly don't want to be struggling with this issue. We would like more than you're willing to give. So what can we do about that? Like, there's an active negotiation there. It's a sales pitch.
So Mike,
we just need the right person.
So Mike, can you talk a little bit about the process of getting the family ready for the intervention? Because it's not just, hey, can you come over and, blast this mold? It, can you talk about whether you do the letter writing? Like, what does this process include? Like, how many people in the family or loved ones, right? It doesn't always have to just be family. Like, can you talk about that process of preparing the family for the day?
I mean, I'll tell you about my process, and then you can kind of understand that. Is that in preparation for the intervention, I actually slow it down, and I have to have 3 meetings with the family system before we sit with their loved one. And the reason we break it down into 3 instead of like one full 8-hour day of prep is that I'm actually able to get families to process the information, sleep on the information, and make the necessary emotional and perspective adjustments that need to be made from the time we meet till when we're ready to sit with their loved one. A lot of people can say, I'm ready to go in the other room, but there's anger and all this other stuff that's going to come creeping out if we don't take our time. And so those 3 meetings can usually be done in a week, 2 weeks at most. But they can be done pretty quickly, but they need to be done. And during those meetings, we're kind of educating everybody and making sure we all understand the issue the same way, at least to a certain extent. There's common ground there. Usually there's a big divide in the family. So we're going through some education. We are going through a letter writing exercise in preparation. So everybody writes the letter, then we read them out loud so everybody can hear what everybody else says, so that we make sure we're all saying the same thing and coming from the same place. There's no guilt, shame, or blame in the letters. And then we go over things like, how do you sit with somebody during an intervention and let them actually process the decision to go to treatment? Because everybody says no at first. I've been doing these for 13 years, and I've never had anyone just be like, yeah, sure, why not? That's right. You know what I mean? At the very least, Yeah, at the very least, they've got a little bit of pushback. Like, yeah, all right, this is cool, but like, I have a job. What about my kids? Who's going to take care of my dog? Like, there's real life stuff going on. I mean, if I told any one of you that you needed to go to treatment today, even if you were willing, you'd be like, well, yeah, but like, I mean, I got a podcast to do next week.
You know, should do my podcast.
Right. So you've got like real life issues. Yeah. Can I do my podcast from treatment?
Yeah.
But even people struggling with addiction have like real life. Yeah.
And my phone.
Even people struggling with addiction have real life reasons or issues that need to be discussed and addressed. And a lot of times, you know, we've got to get the family comfortable enough to sit in that meeting while their loved one is talking about things that are important to them, it might not seem as important to everyone else. So like, when you're in that meeting and the loved one is like, yeah, but I don't want to give up my part-time job at the gas station. And dad comes in, he's like, that's not a fucking job. Just give it up and go to treatment. Like, that's not going to help us along. No. So instead, I need to get the parents and family willing to just kind of like sit and allow me, the interventionist, to have that conversation and help sort through all those reasons and excuses. And, you know, that takes a little preparation. And then finally, we have to help a family understand what boundaries are, right? Because not everybody understands that. A lot of people think boundaries are things that you put on other people to get them to change their behavior or get them to stay away from you. But boundaries are things that we do to protect ourselves so that we can still be close to people that we love. And so to take family through that educational process does require some time. And it does almost require some like team building skills. You know, we got to get them all laughing together a little bit. It doesn't have to be all somber. We got to get them, you know, prepared to support each other in the meeting. Like if, hey, you know, grandpa's going to lose his shit, we've got to have grandma sitting next to him with a water bottle so she can squirt him in case he gets out of control. You know?
Oh my God. Mike, I like what you brought up about, asking somebody to go away. I mean, literally when you do an intervention, the family knows, everybody's prepared. You've been talking to them, except for the addict themselves, right? Because they're going about doing their thing. Maybe they might know or something going on, but whatever, but they're not ready. Right. And I'm just thinking about this, and I never thought of it this way. When I go on vacation, I usually plan it a year in advance, at least. Like I know where I'm going this summer on vacation. I have to save money for it. I tell my job about it, tell my friends about it, get somebody to cover me on the podcast, whatever it is. But you're walking into a room telling this person that they have to leave today. That's a tough task. I mean, I get it. I mean, I've been there, done that, but and that's where the family comes in for the support, correct?
Yeah. I mean, like, even if I came to you as a surprise for Christmas, which is, you know, we just had the holidays and stuff, right? I come to you and I'm like, surprise, Ed, we're going to the Maldives for a month.
I'm there.
Anyone ever Googled the Maldives? It's absolutely beautiful. So if you don't know, Google it, right? We got our own private hut or whatever they call on the Maldives, and the one with the water slide, 4 bedrooms. We're going to be gone for a month. Sounds great, but like, you have real life stuff that would need to be discussed and taken into consideration to do that. And you're right. You know, when we do an intervention, we're moving at the family's timeline, right? We're doing it when we want to do it, because we're ready to do it, on the day that we decided to do it, between these hours, because this is when we could all get together. Like, that's, you know, sometimes it's even unrealistic to think that we're going to get an answer that day between 12 and 2, because that's when we could get everyone together, you know? So a lot of times an intervention is about starting a discussion, not necessarily finishing it that day.
Okay.
Right.
How many do you see as a success rate, Mike? I mean, is there a standard rate for successful interventions, or?
I may be the only one that's going to tell you this, but they're probably all made up. Okay. And the reason I say that is because what is success based on? Did I get them to go to treatment that day? Did I get them to go to treatment eventually? Did I get them to stay in treatment beyond detox? Did they stay beyond residential care? Did they go on to aftercare? I mean, to truly give you a success rate, I would have to track these clients and say how many got well. Yeah. All right. And if I give you that number, it's going to sound pretty low, right? Because I'm not in control of what they do once they get to treatment. I can't take responsibility for whether or not they get well based on their treatment experience. I can only put them in an environment where they could get well. So in the same way that Alcoholics Anonymous has such a low success rate or whatever it is because it's flooded with people who don't actually want to be there. Court-ordered individuals, right? Yeah. We're doing interventions, putting in people in treatment who may not be ready to hear the message, but couldn't hear it if we didn't put them there. So the real success rate is actually pretty low if you quantify it correctly. I don't go around saying I get 96% of people into treatment on that day, because it's not my selling point. My selling point is that I am a remodeler, and I remodel rooms with mold in them so they don't grow back. Assuming that the homeowner allows me to do what needs to be done. If they're fighting me at every turn and not letting me put in a window and not letting me adjust the HVAC system, they're not going to get.
It can be a problem. Mike, just getting the family together and sitting them in a room and getting them to, because everybody's great about, he needs to go into treatment, she needs to go to treatment, this, that has to happen, everything has to happen. But just getting that family in that room, do you think that's a success, just getting them in that room and talking to the addict themselves?
I do. I mean, I think it's therapeutic, it's cathartic. I think that it is, especially when families get together, and you have to imagine that pre-intervention, there hasn't really been a lot of healthy conversation around the topic. There's probably been a lot of anger, blame, shame, right? Trying to manipulate from both sides. And there's just a constant argument about what it is that people are asking for. And families are often divided on what they want too. Like you got mom wants this person to go away for 9 months. Dad's like, he's got to go to meetings. You know what I mean? The siblings are like, he just needs to pull his shit together and stop acting like such an asshole. And you've got like this broken family system, and nobody even knows what needs to be done, let alone do they all understand the problem. And then, if you're talking about change, I know that when I designed this intervention process back in 2009, it was built around what it would take for me to believe that my family was changing, right? And so you put a family system in a room and you see them all saying things differently, acting differently, responding differently, and not punishing you, but protecting themselves and being comfortable talking about it. Like that's powerful. Like, even if I'm not ready to go that day, I may leave and push the boundaries of that family system, but just having them all sit there that day and start that process and have that conversation confidently, and be confident enough to walk away and say, I obviously can't do this for you. I'm here for you if you need me, but I'm not going to play a role in keeping you sick.
Exactly.
And whatever way the family delivers that message, whether they go to treatment or not, think of the other 6 people that just got changed. Right? Like, yes, I know our focus was on the scapegoat of the addict or alcoholic who needs help. I agree. But family systems are broken too. So, I mean, you can take the ripple effect of getting everyone in that room, and now mom and dad can go see a couples counselor and work through whatever issues they had as a result of how they were dealing with the addict or alcoholic. The siblings can start to heal by stepping back and realizing that they've done and said everything that they could, and they can free themselves up to let mom and dad handle their child and not feel obligated to act as 3rd, 4th, or 5th parents.
So sometimes the intervention won't be the addict going to treatment. It'll be the family members getting better. So the addict may or may not see the family system getting better and say, hey, listen, I can't manipulate them anymore. I may or may not have to be around them, or I might have to go to treatment eventually. So
that's why have it. It's a family focused intervention model. So I'm not focused on just getting the person to treatment. Most of the people that I work with go to treatment, whether it's that day, a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later. Almost everybody goes to treatment. After 13 years, I can confidently say that less than 20 people didn't go to treatment. Do you know what I mean? So the number is high. It's just when, right? Was it that day, that moving target that we picked that was convenient for everyone except the addict or alcoholic? Usually it's 50-50. Is it the week after? Yeah, there's a good chunk that go the week after, 2 weeks after, within that month. 6 months later, a year later, sometimes, but what does change, and what I am confident in, is our ability to change the family system. And in doing so, if you change the system, the addiction is hard. It's harder for the addiction to thrive and continue to go on. Like, especially if your family system is your support network. And it doesn't mean the family can't still be a part of that person's life and love them and stay close to them, as long as they've developed like an emotional hazmat suit, right? Because love is the conduit that people use to manipulate other people.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so you can love someone as long as you're protecting yourself as well. Let's just take this for instance, and I don't know how much time we got, or if I'm just
go ahead
over the podcast, but I was listening to a book, Audible book, the 4 Agreements. Right?
Oh yeah.
Love that book.
Right? And the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And which I misunderstood until I listened to the book. And basically what it is it's emphasizing the power of the word, right? And that because of how powerful the word is, you need to be careful with it. That's the message I was getting from this, right? That's why it's so important to be impeccable with your word. And so we've got all these forms of love that people are used to. And one of the most common forms of, quote, enabling is just love. I'm just providing the love that I'm used to providing. I'm providing love in ways that I know they will think it's love, and it makes me feel like I'm loving them. I love them by giving them money. I love them by sacrificing my sanity. I love them by giving them a place to stay. I love them by doing these things for them. And I don't think people understand, because what we're doing is diminishing the power of the word love, right? I only feel like you feel loved if I do these things for you. And as an addict or alcoholic, you're only as good as the last thing you did for me. So if you don't keep doing these things for me, I don't think you love me. And by me saying, I don't think you love me, what can you do to change that? And that's
so the whole
enabling cycle, right?
So the whole family's outlook on love becomes completely distorted, disillusioned or whatever, out of focus, because the addict is manipulating them to get what he wants. And then think about the ripple effect the opposite way. Now everybody's doing what the addict needs to do, and now the husband and wife, or mom and dad, are fighting back and forth to each other because because they knew love a certain way. Now they're looking at it a different way, and now they're fighting back and forth. Dad might be saying, no, this is how we have to do it. We have to pay for him to live here. Mom's saying, no, get him out of that. And that becomes conflict, right? And then think about it. Mom and dad have relationships outside of the house, friendship or whatever, and it could get into that, right? I mean, how crazy is one person being an addict gonna that ripple effect hurting everybody? You know what I mean? But think about it. If we talk about the ripple effect working, that one addict gets help, boom, everybody around them flourishes and grows. And
I'm gonna flip that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the family focused intervention model, or just the idea of addressing family systems, flips that on its head. Okay. You've got this one person that's freaking out through addiction, right? They're actually acting perfectly normal. They're acting like addicts and alcoholics act, right? And so it's natural for them to behave the way that they are. That then impacts the rest of the family system, which impacts their relationships and so on and so forth. It is not the addict or alcoholic's responsibility to pull their shit together for the sake of everyone else. It is everyone else's responsibility to pull their shit together for the sake of the addict or alcoholic. Okay. And there is a larger group of more capable, more sane, more rational individuals surrounding the addict or alcoholic that are spinning out of control, blaming the addict or alcoholic, than are actually taking responsibility for their reaction to it and changing and addressing the system.
Yeah.
I am one of those people because I'm a family member of an addict right now. I was one of those people on the other side of it because I was an addict messing my family up. And believe it or not, I played no role in making my family pull their shit together. Even after I was sober, I've got half of my family that are not feeling better, even though I'm sober. Right?
I hear that a lot too.
Yeah. I may have messed them up, but it's their responsibility to fix it.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. Well,
like my parents can beat the shit out of me while I'm a kid, and that sucks for them. That was bad on them. But it's my responsibility to address that trauma so it doesn't impact every other relationship in my life.
Exactly.
With my own children.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I put that back on families too in this intervention model that's like, you not only have the responsibility, but you have the option. You have the option to get well in spite of what your loved one is going through.
I'm gonna ask the ladies here real quick, because we're all in recovery here, obviously. Oh, well, I didn't. I blew Mike's anonymity there. Sorry, Mike. Bambi, it's your year anniversary. What resonate? I mean, this is a lot of good information even just when you're in recovery, this is a lot of good information, because to me, not necessarily families get fixed because the addict goes into treatment. I get recovery, and maybe those people don't get fixed. For me, I have to stay away from those people who don't get fixed because I'm healthy now. I understand it, right? And I have to kind of distance myself. What is it called? Loving from Afar. What's the name of that book? Anyways, whatever. But Bambi, how about you? Like, how did it affect exactly what Mike was talking about? Did the family change, or or anything along those lines when you got sober?
Well, it actually, this was, I think this is a great model, Mike, because when I went into rehab, nothing changed in the first time I went into rehab. So it wasn't until my fourth rehab that there was some family intervention and things actually changed to make the environment better for them and for me to grow in this whole, because you're completely different. The dynamics are completely different when you come out sober. And there just wasn't any family intervention at all in my first three rehabs. And it wasn't until the fourth rehab that really invested in both of us and made a discharge plan that would work with both of us. And it made a huge difference.
And Mike, you work with treatment centers that now Mike doesn't just do intervention, guys. He owns a treatment center. He owns a treatment center. He does a lot of different things with the families and all that. But you just don't work with people who just work with the addict. You try to have them work the family also, right? Is that what you incorporate? I mean, your center, you know what I mean, as far as that goes.
I mean, I think it's the way I look at it is that while someone's in treatment, it's very difficult to work on the family because they're having the foot taken off their throat for the first time in a while. So they're just trying to breathe. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot that the family is going to do during the first month or so of someone being in treatment. A, they don't know if it's real. B, they don't know if they should invest their time in it. I mean, nobody really wants to change unless they have to. So it's like, you can point out to a family like, hey, you're broken. You should go see a therapist. You should go do this. You can do that. But a lot of them are going to wait to invest their time in those things until they feel like it's actually going to help. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It just is. That's human nature, right? So like, during the first 30 days or even 90 days of treatment, I think what we're hoping for when we work with treatment programs is that there's enough family interaction to keep them in the loop. There's also enough separation to not connect the two, that like the family's recovery is tied to their recovery and vice versa. I think the real magic happens during the first year of treatment, or the first year of recovery, actually. Like, Bambi, to your point, when you come out of treatment and you're sober, it is a completely new family dynamic because you've got your motivation to stay sober. You've got your purpose, your drive, right? But you've also got this cloud of suspicion hanging over your head that you've created.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so that follows you everywhere you go. You can't escape that. You've also got the realization that you've trained your family to not trust you, to not believe you, to not buy into this, to not have hope. But you need that. That's the time you need it the most. So it's like this catch-22 of like, I taught you not to be there for me, but I could really use you being around right now. And that's where families having boundaries is so critical, because if families have taken the time to learn about and develop healthy boundaries, regardless of how they feel about your recovery, they can still be there for you, right? They're not waiting for some magical moment where they can be like, ding, they're well, I can come back in. There's no more worry about me getting my feelings hurt or us fighting or them using, because that's never a reality, right? And so if the family is learning how to build healthy boundaries, creating this emotional hazmat suit, then it frees them up to be closer to you when you need them the most, which is an early recovery, right? And so when we look at family, I can't expect a treatment program to do that because you'd have to have the family there treating them as well. So when it comes to the treatment programs, my only expectation is good communication with the interventionist, good communication with the individual in treatment, and some communication with the family, just letting them know that things are okay. The real magic for that family, unless there's an in-person or an in-depth family program at that treatment center that would be separate, as far as the treatment program goes, I just expect them to focus on that one individual, right? And prepare them for the realities that they're going to face when they do leave, which is that maybe they're not walking back into open arms. Maybe things don't get better just because you got sober. Maybe they suck for another year or two. I mean, the residual effects of being an addict or alcoholic could ripple through the next decade if you're bad enough. It doesn't just get good because you got sober. It will get good. but it doesn't just get good.
And yes, I agree with that. And Beth, I know you sponsor a lot of women, and you've been doing this a long time. What's your take on exactly what Mike's seeing? You see because I heard sponsees say to me anyways, but my mom doesn't understand. My wife thinks I'm drinking. They don't think it's real. What's your take on exactly what Mike was saying, if you don't mind, from a sponsor's point of view?
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. I think it's along the lines of the same thing that Michael was saying, is usually about, from a sponsor point of view, the women that I sponsor, after they're through the book, after they're at least 3/4 of the way through direct amends, the marriage starts to disintegrate. And I want to say this in 98% of the women that are married that I sponsor, because they are no longer utilizing the relationship the way that they were when they were drinking, which for many of the women that I sponsor, they met the husband drunk, they married the husband drunk, the drunk, husband's been picking up the messes or being the enabler or whatever role that husband has taken on, they walked into it. And now all of a sudden stands before you a mostly independent, capable woman who is looking to connect on an equal level. And the husband is seeing, you no longer need me. I'm not needed in this relationship. I don't do anything for you anymore. Like the love language has to change, like the entire communication. And what I tell the girls that I sponsor with is, this is when we go to couples therapy, because you now need to make a decision. You are either going to rediscover a pattern of relating to each other, a pattern of working with each other, because we fulfill things in our spouse's life. And now it's all gone. Everything is gone.
You take it out completely out of their life, and
completely different. It's like a completely different dynamic showed up.
Exactly.
And so when we get to this portion of recovery, right? We're done with the book. We're doing this. We're now sponsoring other women. We have all these meetings, and we have these sponsees, and we have this like beautiful big life that's starting to happen, and the spouse often feels left behind. So that's when I tell my sponsees, like, okay, so that's an issue outside of my scope. I've been married 21 years, but I got married when I had 10 years sober. So it's very different.
Well, that's where I think, Mike, your program, Baystate Recovery, would come in, because you don't just drop the families after the intervention or after the case management stops. When you bring it into this situation, exactly what Beth is talking about, you address that situation it could be divorce, if maybe it could be couples counseling, it could be separation for a while. You address that at Baystate, that family, you carry that through.
So, similar to what Beth was just explaining. I mean, there's a certain amount of separation, right, between being an interventionist and working with a family and identifying some of the things that need to be addressed, and actually being the person or the company that addresses them. I think to her point, and I would continue this, is that all we do is encourage no big decisions for 90. Okay, no divorces, no complete separations, no draining of bank accounts, no quitting jobs, like just no big decisions for 90 days. And the reason being is that, I look at, the acclimation period of what she was just talking about. Everybody's roles are different. And this isn't just for husbands and wives. I mean, true, not many marriages actually survive a real recovery process, because if it was bad and the husband or wife took on that role, I mean, they're the police, they're the punisher, they're the caretaker, they're all these things. And if they're not that, who are they? Right. And also people coming out of recovery and realizing that they don't like that person, let alone love them. They were just stuck in that relationship and didn't know what to do. And so all of that aside, that's the stuff that we would encourage people to work on, but it happens within families too. The black hole or the void of caretaking. You've got a mom, or you've got a family member or dad or sibling or whoever it is that has been, tasked with the responsibility of keeping this person alive, playing cops and robbers, playing hide and seek and trying to catch them and find them and research this and research that. I mean, think of the hours in a day that are spent researching articles on addiction and recovery and looking for pills on Pill Finder and trying to join Facebook groups, going to support groups and talking to other parents and lying to people and hiding and driving to treatment and bailing out. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a full-time job.
Your person, then your person just gets well. And all of a sudden you've been fired from everything. Everyone that you're talking to, all professionals say, stop, you can't do anything to fix this. I know that you had a full-time job of keeping them alive, but you've been fired. I don't know how to tell you. You need to leave the office. Stop showing up here. It's weird for everyone, and it's hard to accept, and it's hard to figure out what your new role is.
Yeah.
And not many people tell you.
No, because because first of all, when we're in recovery, I don't even, when I got into recovery, I don't even know what my role was. I all I knew is I couldn't drink. That's the only thing I fucking couldn't do, was just drink. And then I'll figure it out after that. I knew how to go to work, but I can't go to the same places I hung out. I can't go to so everybody's role, everybody gets fired from everything when the addict gets into recovery. I never really thought about that, but seriously, and once they're out, we can rebuild that company and make it better, make it around the recovery instead of around the addiction. Mike, I just want to shift gears here a little bit. What's your favorite cigar?
Had to have that in there, right?
I had to have it in there. Yes.
So I've got like the one that I like that's like my go-to if I go to a store and a cigar shop and I want to grab one. Probably just the Caesar, Julius Caesar.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like $7 or $8 stick.
Yeah.
Real dark Maduro. I really enjoy it. The other ones are just, I think they're expensive, so they're good, I guess.
Right. The more you pay for them, the better they taste.
Sure. Yeah. Didn't we have like a $42 cigar last time we got together? Just
we
because
did.
It was like special in a box.
Yeah. It was okay.
They had
it was
the
good.
exact same cigar. I think they had the exact same cigar on the shelf for $20, but because it was in the special box, we were like, yeah. Just a nice standard Caesar.
Okay.
Julius Caesar.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shift. My go-to is the Liga 19, Liga Privada 19. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm not smoking as much as cigars as I used to when we used to really hang out with each other. The reason why I brought that up was, I just want to shift gears, and if you guys want to get a hold of Mike, his information is going to be in the show notes. He'll his information, his website, and all that. There's a lot of good information that we shared here, but I also the reason why I want to bring that up is because we don't talk recovery all the time. We have fun. We do all this stuff. And, our big part of our life is recovery. But once we get into recovery, we can ask and say, hey, what's your favorite cigar? It doesn't have to be when you go into treatment anymore, or, are you going to get sober? Or is the family ever going to stop paying for this? Right. I mean, there is life after when you get into recovery. And Mike and I'm going to tell this story, Mike, and you're going to laugh. We were in Boston, and I think they used to make. You remember this story, right? Do you remember? Yeah. So we called the triple Maduros. They were Camacho triple Maduros a long time ago. The blend was a lot different, and we were at a cigar lounge, and I think we smoked about 3 of these triple Maduros. And out of the blue, it was me and my friend and Mike sitting there. Mike goes, I gotta go. And he gets up, walks out. Me and John are like, what the fuck just happened? And I guess you just had that, like, the cigars overwhelmed us at that point. But that's some of the fun stuff that we're doing in recovery too, and I just didn't want to make it dead serious about what everything we do and all that. But I just wanted to have, show that there is fun in recovery. And before we close, we've been going on and on and on. Again, Mike can probably go on 10 podcasts and still not give all the information out that's necessary out there. But before we go, what is one of your greatest each one of us, what's one of your greatest achievements in recovery? And it doesn't have to be I know this is going out on a limb and asking for a lot, but I just want people to understand that that my greatest achievement, I'll be honest with you, is learning to love people again, learning to understand people, and not my way or the highway. It's not because of a house, not because of a car. Is that all great? Yeah, absolutely. I love having all that stuff, but learning to love people again, the basic stuff in life, the basic stuff that you were just talking about here, I'm like, how you go about doing it. But it took a long time for me to get that. It didn't take me 5 minutes in an hour podcast, and then, the family's all better. So that would be mine. Mike, what do you think your greatest achievement is in recovery?
Yeah, I mean, it's I probably got to go with a very similar statement. I mean, I think my greatest achievement in recovery was about, being patient with myself too. Like, I'm always my worst critic. I always expect, I think like I talk a lot of shit to myself in my head, or I did, you know what I mean? I probably thought I was more of a piece of shit than anyone else on the planet did. And, so learning to love myself and be patient with myself, I think helped free me up to just be a human. And, being a human allowed me to connect with other people. So, I mean, there was definitely a ripple effect of that. But, I remember my mother told me that when I was a kid. She's like, you got to learn to love yourself before you can love anyone else. It's my mother's voice. And
sounds just like her.
Just like her, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And I heard that, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'd even repeat it. I'm like, you got to learn to love yourself before you love other people. And I don't think I really got that until I was a few years in recovery. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I did not even like myself. Let alone love myself. I did not feel like I was worth shit, Yeah. And if I don't feel like I'm worth anything, I don't have time for other people, know? And so getting that sense of self-worth and like, I'm a good person and it's okay to be me was my greatest achievement, because everything else is built on that.
Exactly. You're right. 100%. Beth, what about you? What's your greatest achievement in recovery?
I think it's along the same lines. Like, for me, connecting with other people, like I totally relate with Mike. Like, I'm the biggest piece of shit on the face of the earth, and learning to embrace and love who I am has been a long process for me. Healing from the trauma, healing from the trauma I caused. But I think my greatest accomplishment, the one I hold most dear, is that I am able and willing to connect with other people. That human connection, I think, is my greatest accomplishment. It encompasses like kind of all of what you guys said, but it's like for me, honestly, like I'm probably, millimeters from dissociative disorder.
She's this close. So connection is huge, absolutely. And Bambi, how about you? What's your greatest achievement in your short but wonderful life of recovery? And it's not short. It's, it took a lot of work to get where you're at today.
Right. Well, I agree. You have to learn to like and love yourself first. But for me, it's the spiritual aspect. I was really angry with God. I didn't have, really any deep connection. I didn't have a higher power that I could like turn things over to, and really learning the spiritual aspect and having a higher power and being able to, trust that God's will is going to be done. There's a path for me in my life, and really learning to believe that has to be the greatest thing for me to this point.
Isn't it funny how we didn't talk about houses, cars, all that stuff? We talked about loving ourselves, loving others, connection, and spirituality, right? So the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because everything that Mike spoke about, everything that he was discussing on today's show, everything that he was kind of what he does in his life is how you get to exactly what we just spoke about, right? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of crying, laughing, long nights, short days, whatever it is, for us to get to those spots. If it's loving others, loving self, the connection of others, the spirituality, it took us a lot of hard work to get there. So just by doing an intervention, just by talking to the families, and like Mike said, getting the addict into treatment, it doesn't stop there. Just because you got your addict into treatment or your loved one into treatment, there's a whole huge road ahead of us. And like Mike said, it took me a couple of years to even know that if I love myself or not. So I just don't want to, it's great on an hour podcast that you can get everybody together and this is how we do it. This is where we do it. And then, magically they appear like us. Beth Bambi has a year. We're all talking about long-term recovery. And then, you're sitting there like, well, how come this isn't happening? My loved one's been in treatment for 3 weeks now. And I feel like fucking shit. I just wanted to bring a dose of reality in because it does take some work.
Hey, what about this? Sides. You could give them this.
What's that?
You could give them that right there. Do you see that book?
Yeah. What is it?
It's
the 4 agreements.
Loving Lions.
Oh, Loving Lions. Oh, yeah.
Lions.
Yeah, that's right.
Loving Lions. Give them that book.
We can give that book away. Mike, if you send us a book, good. we can give a book away, right? Didn't you want to do something?
Away. Yes.
5. All right. Mike's going to send me 5. So
all right. That's
our new contest, guys. Mike did write a book called Loving Lions. It's available on Amazon and all that stuff, right, Mike? Still. Yeah. So you just pick it up there and then we'll give a couple copies away here. We'll get a contest together.
Them on Friends and Recovery podcast.
Right.
There you go. Win them on Friends and Recovery podcast. So
I refuse to sell one on Amazon. You have to win it from Friends and Recovery podcast.
That's right. There you go. He'll turn it down. So
Mike Wilson. Box sales.
Mike Wilson, Baystate Recovery, interventionist, a dad, a loving fiance. You have a fiance now, a loving man, a really good friend to astronaut. Keep going. Mold expert, you name it, he does it. So, but a true good friend of mine, a guy who I can go to. And the minute I asked him to do the podcast, or Bambi asked him, he said, yeah, absolutely, I'm here to do it. So Mike, I appreciate everything you've shared with us. I appreciate everything in the last 15, 20 years, you sharing with me to get where I'm at. It's a selfish program. So I took a lot from you to get to where I'm at today. And I hope vice versa too. So, if you want to get a hold of Mike anyhow, we'll have all the information in the show notes. Ladies,
like my home address up and stuff.
Oh, yeah, all that'll be there.
I'll put it all in there.
I don't have your social security number yet. Just send that to me and I'll make sure it goes on.
Yeah, I'll text it to you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, it was my pleasure being on here. I really appreciate the opportunity. As always, I love to talk about this topic. It's a passion for me. So you're right. If you had 10 hours, we'd fill all 10 of them. But thank you for giving me a little bit of time to talk. And, Ed, it is always, it's always nice to see that. And I do value our friendship, which is why we were able to pick it back up after a couple of years there. Absolutely. And you might see Mike somewhere else on these shows. So keep staying in tune. You might see him somewhere. I'm not going to say where, if he isn't, but stay in touch with our show and keep watching. You might see him somewhere else. Beth, Bambi, thank you so much. Bambi, congratulations on your 1 year. Everybody, Facebook Live, we appreciate all your comments, everybody who was watching. And that's it. Stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.